previously on the Berean moment.
Spent 5.5 years in the 82nd Airborne Division. Everybody they acknowledge God, they acknowledge him, but he's really truly not in their heart. He said, Sergeant Dowell, and just one day in passing, he says, Sergeant Dowell, have you received the Holy Ghost? Life-changing experience. I started reading the Bible and found out we've been lied to.
So Pastor, as we get here, one of the things that is levied against you is you hate women. People will say that you are very hard on women, the way you preach about women. Now, obviously, if people are part of this ministry, it's pale in comparison to how you are on the men, on what they need to do and when they mess up. But how do you feel about women? I mean, I know, but I just, for the record, like, how do you feel about women, and why does people think that you hate women,
Well, they probably think that I hate women based on me being totally different than the preachers of this world. I don't cut any corners when it comes to truth and preach. I tell it like it is. And just as well as I do, a lot of people don't want to hear the truth about themselves. And so I get on women because just as well as I do, the United States of America is a matriarchal society. It's not patriarchal at all. And so we see that the headship of the man in a home is being diminished, and the authority of the woman is exalted. You can see that through the dynamic of marriage or whatever it is, the way they do. They got a motto in this world: if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. No, well, in this ministry, if the man ain't happy, the husband or the father ain't happy, then nobody ain't happy, because God is a patriarch. We'll talk about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob being patriarchs, the early patriarch. And anytime you have something different than that, you have a demonic entity. So for the people who say that I hate women and stuff, it's amazing how many women that we have on this community that is surrounded by. I would say, rather than allowing my own personal testimony about the hatred of women, I would ask probably the people out there to go ask the people who know me if I hate women. You understand what I mean? Let them answer for themselves, because there's many women that you've seen this past feast. When they first when they first heard me on YouTube or whatever platform I was on, they couldn't stand me. They literally couldn't stand me until they actually came here and saw me for themselves. I think the biggest trouble is that people are so easily offended. That instead of hearing me and listening to my words, they pay attention to the dynamic or the administration of how I'm preaching. Because to see me preaching, it's like a shock and awe. But the preaching is totally separate than the man who's living, because when I'm preaching, I have a representation that I have to do. I mean, after all, when the Most High came down on Mount Sinai, was speaking to the children of Israel, I'm sure there was a lot of fear there. You understand what I mean? He doesn't talk to us to cater to our feelings and emotions. He just tells the truth. And because I tell the truth, the initial inception is the first thing that people think about. I don't like him because of how he says something, but they can't condemn what I am saying.
Now, some people will say that, well, Pastor, if you are this way, why don't you preach that way? It seems like you're two-faced. You're here one way and then here you're another way. Now, most people see the preaching and the YouTube, but then they don't see the other side. So, are you being two-faced? What do you have to say about things like that?
Well, when I was a soldier and when I was a sergeant, I'm out barking out orders, hollering and screaming pretty much the majority of the day. When I get off that job, I can't go home and then think I can treat my family or the neighbors the same way that I actually have the dynamic of doing my job. So there is a difference. You being a professional, you've seen the coaches when they're on the field. You are used to getting hollered and screamed at and corrected and called every name under the sun, myself as well. But when they're in the office, totally different dynamic. When you see them off season, they're not coaching you. They're not doing the same thing. It's the same dynamic. It's the exact same dynamic. So it's not being hypocritical. It's that preaching is a proclamation. It's a herald. You are actually putting forth the agenda of someone else, the Most High, and his will as opposed to your own. Today's preaching, the preachers cater to the people. I'm not I am going to be judged by every single word, every idle word. And I know what goes on with preaching because I've been preaching a long, long time. There are preachers out there that pay more attention to people's faces, their feelings and emotions, and they will compromise the word. I'm not going to compromise the word for no one, not even myself, because I'm representing someone. And so when you see people preaching and teaching, even Paul, if you really truly read his letters, he wasn't no plaything. He was no plaything at all. As a matter of fact, he even told the people in 1 Corinthians that if you think that my letters are weighty, wait till I see you. You're going to find out how heavy I write these letters. I will be the same way when I see you face to face. You understand what I mean? And then there was love for Paul there. So again, if people are nitpicking based on their feelings and emotions, I'll keep on saying this again, they may not like the way the message is being delivered, but they can't condemn the message. Nobody ever jumps on me for how I'm preaching it, the truth that I'm preaching. It's always the way that I'm saying it. I would say that you have the woe on you because you are the one offended.
So some people even accuse you of being prideful or arrogant in how you present yourself. And obviously, once again, it's probably that same dynamic that you're talking about because of how you come off. You speak with authority because you speak on the word of God and who you represent. So, would you say that's me? I mean, have you heard that people say you're prideful, you're arrogant?
Sure, and I have all kind of charges levied against me by the court of public opinion. It's only their opinion. But one thing I did find out, though, I have found out over the years, is that the people who levy those charges, they usually are guilty of them themselves. So I don't care too much about the court of public opinion or what they're saying. Only the people that Yah is opening up their understanding, because this ministry is different than a lot of ministries out there. This ministry is not only just United States of America, but this ministry is people involved worldwide. We just got finished with the Feast of Booths, the Feast of Tabernacles, and we've had over 500 something people here on this land. There's different cultures, different diversities, different backgrounds. People come from all different venues. And you've talked to every single one of them, just about every one of them.
And one of the things I noticed that talking to the people that you have a style, one of the things that another charge is levied towards you is that you don't evangelize. How do you evangelize in this ministry? I mean, and what's interesting about your ministry that I've never seen in all the churches I've ever been, I mean, first of all, it's very diverse. I've seen people from literally all over the world. Just this booth, I've seen people from Sweden, from Finland, to the Philippines, to Canada, to England. I mean, how do you evangelize even though you're not sending people out?
Well, let's just go back a few years. I've always went out in the different cities. What I would do is rent a room at a hotel. I rent a room at a hotel because people, way before the advent of the internet or YouTube, the inception of YouTube, there was international shortwave radio. So a lot of people would hear me by that. I've been on AM, FM radio stations, all across this land and stuff, ministering the gospel. When YouTube came on, it was just real easy, to get the message out there. But for people who say that I don't evangelize, let me see. I've been to Canada, Hawaii, Florida, California, Houston, Texas, quite a few places in Texas, Georgia, New York, New Jersey, South Carolina, North Carolina, Michigan. I can go on and on and on. How you follow me? Even Wisconsin. I've been all over. So again, there's something unique in this world. People like saying things, and they like levying charges, throwing charges, but they themselves are hypocrites. They don't fit what they expect out of me. You understand what I mean? So here's what I would say to people who say I don't evangelize. Then how do you get over 500 something people here if I'm not evangelizing? Or what they call the dynamic of being an evangelist. First of all, I'm a pastor anyway, but people get here. They get here some way, somehow, don't they?
One of the things that I thought was interesting of how you told me one of the ways you evangelized was, how you came into YouTube. You was talking about how God put on your heart that you need to get out there, and how you talk about you're a fisherman of men, your baits. Could you please expound or share how how you came into YouTube, or make yourself known, and then how you use your baits.
First of all, we're out here on Straitway, this little small community, and our little old nest egg. We're doing fine. I mean, really fine. And one day I was in the garden, I was working in the garden. And
When was this?
I think it was like 2007, something like that, maybe 7, 8, somewhere along in there. I heard in my spirit, make yourself known. Because I know when the Most High is speaking. He's only appeared to me twice, twice. But I know the Ruach when he's speaking, or the Holy Spirit. And so I would take, if you see the old videos that are up there on YouTube right now, those videos that are old, those videos are like from 5 years previous. And I just would throw them up because YouTube would only give you 10-minute sections there. I just throw them up there. And so a little time passed, and then it thundered in my mind. I said, make yourself known. I mean, really, one of these fearful, trembling things. The Most High don't talk or do all that talking. He gives you a knowing. You know what he's saying. So I started speaking about things that I know, because I do a lot of reading, a lot of studying, a lot of education. I'm self-educated, self-taught. And so I know about social, political, economic, religious perspectives, point of view, and know about finances a little bit. So I will start speaking on those subjects. Besides just being a pastor, there are other things that I know. And so I will speak on those subjects, and I will call them lures in my tackle box, because Jesus says, I'm going to make you fishers of men. You follow? So I use the gospel, use the word. So a lot of times when I'm speaking on these social, political, religious, economic perspectives and everything, and these dynamics, I am also mixing the word and the principles of the word in those messages. It's the word that draws people. Most people, they know about these dynamics. And so whatever people are interested in, survival, homesteading, whatever I'm speaking about, if they are his, there is something that's going to click in that spirit. That's where the hook comes in. And then they'll hear what's being said, which is the word, his word. Are you following me? And then they'll become more interested and start doing investigations. Because usually when people first hear me, they get mad and upset. They should. They should. It's just part of it. You follow me? I've had people tell me that I am going to flat out prove you wrong. And they, for the first time in their lives, after being in church for 20 and 30 years, they had the same experience that I've had. Because of my dynamic and the way that I preach and minister the word, there's no way. Man, I hate this guy. This guy's wrong. He's flat out wrong. Then they come to find out, they pick up their Bible, they read it, they start studying this up, they read it more, and they, oh my God, he's telling the truth. Now, they're on the line and they're in the boat.
I can't even, my situation, my personal situation, but I can't tell you how many people told me, says, even though I don't like the situation you're in or what you're a part of, I got to admit, I've been in my Bible more than I've ever been before. And you hear that throughout all the different people that I've talked to, that they didn't read them. They went to church. Some people are atheists, and they finally opened up the Bible when they ran into your YouTube.
I'm a pastor. And Jesus said, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto me. You can talk to all these people. Yeah, they heard me, but they're not coming to these meetings because of Pastor Dowell. They coming because of Jesus, the real Jesus. Again, Paul spoke clearly about this other Jesus. People will come and preach another Jesus. That's what Christianity is, because there's nothing about the religion of Christianity is true. All you have to do, rather than people getting offended, I'm not against people who say that they love Jesus and believe in Jesus. But Jesus said, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments. People have been duped. They have been deceived, and they have no idea that the wool has literally been pulled over their eyes. So when I start preaching and teaching, it's like a shock and an awe. It gets them, and if they get upset enough and they're going to go investigate, every one of them that was set out to prove me wrong only end up finding out that I was right. Because it's totally different. Satan has his whole world on lockdown. He has it on lockdown. He found a religion that he could immerse himself into, and they joined it rather than fighting against it. And that's why I tell people, you think about the three main pillars of Christianity: Christmas, Easter, and Sunday. Oh, first of all, you got to do is go open up the Bible and see if they're in there. See if the disciples celebrated. See if Jesus talked. See if Moses and the prophet did it. If they didn't, something's wrong. Because the one thing that Yahweh is not going to, or the Most High, God, that a lot of people say, the one thing he's not going to tolerate, and that's what always got Israel in trouble, the children of Israel in trouble, is this coexisting worship. So in this time, people relax the dynamic of saying it's okay because it's for the children, it's for this. He's not associated with lies. Matter of fact, he says at the end of the book that all liars are going to have their part in a lake which burneth with fire and brimstone. And so I fear him so much, and I love his people so much that I'm not going to lie just in order to try to gain people. He know them that are his, and he is the one that is drawing people, and it's only going to be a remnant. So I'm not interested in numbers or the amount. It's only even when it's all said and done, it's just going to be a remnant, and it's going to be a sad day for a lot of people who just say the name Jesus but don't obey him. It's going to be a sad day when the breath go out of their body and find out rather than them going to the kingdom, they're going to end up burning.
So, Pastor, what do you say when people say that, they say, man, Pastor, you are preaching the truth. We love how you preach the truth. I mean, this is good, but maybe, calm down on the cussing, what they call bad language,
Yes.
or the drinking, like if you just kind of just put that aside and just focus on the stuff that people can handle. What do you have to say to those things?
Again, whatever America or the buildup or the construct of this nation right here. First of all, I know people don't understand it. America can say God bless America all they want. God don't give a damn about America. He really truly don't, or any other nation. He only cares, read the book from beginning to end. He only cares about his people. So what people in this world deem as a cuss word is not really a cuss word. I've got teachings on that. It's because they call it cursing. But yet and still the same people, again, the hypocrites that they are levy these charges, they curse God every day. When you go read the Psalms, and the way that you curse God is by not keeping his commandments. And Christians don't keep his commandments every single day. They breaking them. Matter of fact, they even say that we all still sin. I can't say I've never sinned, but I do not practice sin. You follow me? Yes, I don't practice. And the people that are truly born again don't sin. You get it? So just because people say that I don't like it because of the way he curses, he needs to tone down what they drink and stuff. Jesus turned the water into grape juice? No, it doesn't say that. He turned the water into wine. And again, go look up the word effervescence. Go look up, I can be in all day long. Again, this is a society that has a dynamic of the way that they think things are. And this is what Christianity hates about me, because I push against it. And in that push, I expose everything that is evil about it. Now, I don't have a personal vendetta against Christianity. It just so happen to be the one that these people who are deceived come and attack me. I mean, the Christians, they don't even believe what they even say they stand for. I mean, you would love me for the truth that I'm telling, but you hate me because of the truth that I'm telling. And why do you spend all your time attacking me when you should be out there living for Jesus like you say you love? You get it? Yes, sir. So just because people get upset about the cussing and stuff, and if you realize, you notice that there are certain words that I just don't say. I just flat out don't say. And I'm going to say this too. There are certain things that I vehemently oppose. I vehemently oppose adultery and fornication, what the world, whoredoms and whoremongers. I definitely detest and abhor and can't stand homosexuality. Man lying with man, woman with woman. It used to be a mental disease, a mental illness diagnosed early in this country right here. Now it's done come around to be an acceptable form of lifestyle. You got these Christians who say they love Jesus, but yet they'll go to a homosexual wedding and be giddy and give gifts and make merry. You see, the deception is real. Satan is real. And things are supposed to go from bad to worse because that's what the book says. So you can see that I care more about what the Father thinks and says as opposed to people. I've always had a strong mind and a strong will. And once I get something, I don't care about what people say. People say a lot of things. I care more about what people do.
How do you feel about pedophilia when children being molested in that same category? How do you feel about that?
I detest it the same way I do alternative lifestyles, transgenders, homosexuals. I literally detest it. I detest it with all my heart. You see, I realize that as an Israelite, I'm in captivity. I'm still in captivity. And the reason why I say that, because if I was free, then the laws of our land and of our God would be in order. When Jesus was born, the Romans was in control. If it was up to me, I would actually exercise the law. I would actually eliminate all homosexualities. All homosexuals. I would eliminate lesbians. I would eliminate pedophilias. When you read the dynamic of the law, it says when you do that, you'll put away the evil from you. It's amazing. Now, people get upset at that, but they won't get upset that America will lie to you, soldier, and the general public, and say that these people over here got weapons of mass destruction, and they're using it against their people to kill them. And we go over and annihilate a whole population. And they're not mad if President Trump or Obama or Bush or somebody says or through this because of what they trump up charges and say these people are evil because they're terrorists and they're doing this. So let's go kill them. Americans, the hypocrites that they are, they don't get mad at that. They don't get mad at that. You follow me? Yes, you go and destroy whole populations and destroy whole lives because they said it. And let me tell you the truth, what's really going on. What's really going on is resources. What's really going on is empire building. And so they have to deceive the general public in order to get them to buy in to what's going on. And so they use the problem reaction solution. It's called a Hegelian dialectic in order to get the people stirred up to get the general public on their side. And so we're waging wars against all these people. And did we ever find any weapons of mass destruction? No, we didn't. We didn't find it. But what we did was gain a lot of resources. And that's the reason why America stays in power through its military might. And that's what's really, truly going on in this world today.
Pastor, I noticed being a part of this ministry that's actually unique. And I don't know if I've seen it before, that it's more men in this ministry than there are women. And then there's more men leadership. I mean, you see the men literally when they praise and worship. I've just never seen, back in Christianity, I remember the men, it was mostly the women up front, or, when it came to the altar to praise and worship, and the men were just kind of checking their clock, just kind of seeing when is this thing going to end so we can get out of here. But it's totally different. What do you, was it like that for you for all the church you've been where it was men, or is this a different dynamic since you started Straitway or since Yaz used you to start Straitway?
Let me say this, only a man, a real true man, can hear me. Only a man. And only a man will follow the man, Christ Jesus. You hear me?
Yes, sir.
The whole entire Bible, the whole dynamic of being Israel, a holy nation, a royal priesthood, is patriarch. This thing, all the prophets were men. All the apostles were men. Somebody say, oh, what about Deborah? Hold on, you mean she was a prophetess? Total different dynamic. When it came time to war, she was under a tree. She wasn't on the battlefield. You understand? They have twisted this matriarchal construct that we see today is the working of Satan. Anything that goes against what the word says, what Yah has already set up, Satan would twist it, warp it, and distort it. The reason why there's more men, because again, only a man can hear the voice of Yah. You hear me? Yes, and only a man can love. A woman, I challenge this. Read the whole Bible and see where it commands or demands a woman to love her husband. There's another challenge I'll put out there. Find in the Bible one place where it warns a woman of a man. time would fail us today to show you all the places to where it's written in the scriptures and the Apocrypha warning a man against a woman. You know why? From the very beginning of the fall, who did Satan use first in order to deceive the man?
Eve.
Exactly. You get it?
Yes, sir.
And then you end up losing your chutzpah. You understand what I mean? Yet and still, we have a lot of women and children. The most beautiful women and children you ever meet on the face of planet Earth. If I'm the tyrant like a lot of people levy and say that I am, you would know by looking at my wives. Just look at them, see.
So, Pastor, you came up with now your whole experience. You've always practiced monogamy. The churches you were part of was monogamy. When did and I think when you first started this community, I think you had about 70 people that started off, 70 people. But when the polygyny part, you're known for this. People say, "Oh, polygyny, he's lusting, he's sinning, and all this stuff." When did that polygyny part kick in? Like, I mean, you were preaching up for so many years.
Oh yeah.
This is just more than this in the last 3-4 years that you actually introduced.
4 or 5 years.
4 years. What can you explain, how did that come about that you started to say, I need to preach on this?
Well, first of all, I'm a student of the word. And if you had asked me after reading the Bible, what did I believe? That was asked quite a few times, you know what I mean? Do you believe a man can have more than one wife? First of all, it's totally irrelevant what I believe. It's all about what the word says. And of course, the answer is yes. The patriarchs, Abraham, who everybody say they love, had more than one wife. Moses, the custodian of the law, had more than one wife. Jacob, it's obvious. You know what I mean? Out of him come the 12 tribes of Israel from 4 women. He actually had more than one wife. The truth is, there's no word in the Hebrew or Greek that is associated with wife. It's women. It's women, but we just use that in this construct today. But David, the psalmist, a man after God's own heart, had a total of 18. And of course, we all know about Solomon. All right. And when you read Josephus, even in the time of Jesus, polygyny was in the community of Israel. You follow me? What we have is we have a Western dynamic and an Eastern dynamic. The Caucasians, the white who come from the Caucasus or Europe, they were monogamous, even though they didn't practice this. Just like America, President Trump, he's allegedly monogamous, but even though he doesn't practice it. You get what I'm saying? With this serial divorce and remarriage, divorce and remarriage, divorce and remarriage here in this country right here, nobody's monogamous, regardless of what they say. They may think they are, but they're really truly not. One day I was in here preaching, and it was about 2012. And I mentioned something about the patriarchs having more than one wife, and over in this one section right over here, I saw a spirit on a bunch of sisters that changed their face and dynamic, and I looked at her and I said, "Whoa, really?" I'm a total different preacher than these preachers in the world. If I'm going to get a spirit or some women or anybody challenging me concerning the word, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go straight to that book and get to that word. And I'm going to find out what it says, and I'm going to preach it and teach it, and I don't care what people like. You follow? I'm not in this for a popularity contest, and I'm damn sure not in this to be liked. You understand what I mean? So I mentioned it that one time. I mentioned it a few more other times, but I stayed silent on it for about 3 years. The reason why I stayed silent on it, because I wanted to study it. I wanted to know what the Bible has to say. This is the problem today with organized religion. They go to church and they go to these schools. They go to these institutions and they learn about what men had to say all after the apostles and prophets. Jesus Christ is the chief cornerstone, but the foundation is built on the apostles and prophets. So they go to school and learn about Calvinism. They go to school to learn about Lutheranism. They go to school to learn about Jerome, Ignatius, Marcion, Tertullian, all these other so-called allegedly church fathers. They're not written about in the Bible. They should be getting their doctrine from what the book says. Christianity is built on what these men said who came after the apostles and prophets. And so a lot of times, again, people are using the name Jesus, but people are not following Jesus, they're following John Calvin. You get it? They're not following him. They use the Bible to support their doctrine, but their doctrine does not come from the Bible. So they cherry pick, they pick words. You hear me? Yes, so I set myself aside and apart, and this is what I always do when I come on something new. I study the subject, hours, years, months, studied it before I started talking about it. And in studying this, I have to, because see, unfortunately, as a black man in this society, in this world over here in America, when I say something, it has to be proven to the zenith. If a Caucasian says something, a white man is automatically received. That's just the way it is. So after I had got the subject down pat and knew what I was talking about, first thing I did was went on YouTube and started challenging theologians. Started challenging professors. I had one in Texas and one in California that was going to challenge me. And then we was in the process of setting it up, some theologians. Well, after we had set this up, or getting in the process of setting it up, they called back and canceled. So I started just preaching and teaching on the subject, the truth of it. And still to this day, there's not a man on this earth that can actually stand toe-to-toe with me in a debate of it. You know the reason why? Because the Bible is the truth. The Bible is the truth. Almighty Yahweh was very instrumental in the lives of the patriarchs. If it was a sin, he would have condemned Abraham for it. Just because men say it's a sin doesn't mean it's a sin. Immediately after Yahweh gave the commandments to Moses over in Exodus, the 20th chapter, Shemot chapter 20, the very next chapter, do you know what he talks about? Polygyny. He talks about men and wives. It's amazing, isn't it? He told David, the patriarch David, the man created his own heart. And, when you went over and took Uriah's, the Hittite's wife and stuff, he said, man, if you would have wanted more, I would have given them to you. That comes right out of the mouth of Yahweh. There are people today that are so arrogant and so bold and so egotistical. That's where the pride comes in, the rejection of Yah. That even though the creator of the universe has already regulated, has already given laws concerning it, has already sanctioned it, they would even oppose him for that view of this monogamous society. So here I am again. Most people thought that this would be the end of the ministry when I started talking like this. As a matter of fact, it was the actual spark that he made the ministry grow even more so. And mind you, even in preaching about polygyny, or I call biblical marriage, I've always said less than 5% of the people will probably participate in it anyway, because their mind is so constituted to the dynamic of this world over here in America. But if it's the truth, I'm going to preach it, I'm going to teach it, and live it. I don't care what the world has to say. They're not my judge, they're not your judge, and we're not each other judges, basically, in the final matter. So I heard that there's people out there that says that it's a doctrine of hell. Well, we'll find out, won't we? We'll see. But if you have that book sitting in front of you, it is the truth, and every man is a liar.
So when Straitway started, how did you, this is how many acres is this? This is about
50 acres.
50 acres. Now, when you first found this land, how did you find this land, and what did it take to get this land? Like, obviously you talk about, come out of her, you encourage people to get out of the cities and get land and start living community. How did you do it? You started off in your own home, and people were living in, I think, in the cities in rooms, and you were preaching to your wife, your children, your parents. How did you eventually acquire this land? And if you can tell us the history behind that.
At the time, we didn't have a fellowship. I was preaching to my little immediate family. Sister Carol and I, we would take the offerings and the tithes that we normally would give to an assembly or a church. We just kept it in a box.
Okay. So did you just stop going to church at this time and just?
Yeah, I didn't. And when I came home, I didn't go to church because nobody was keeping the Sabbath. Nobody was keeping the commandments.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Nobody was.
So even the apostolic church that you were a part of, did you just move or?
They were in Leesville, Louisiana. I'm in Tennessee now. I'm living in Tennessee.
Okay, so you moved. Okay.
Yes, sir. When I got out of the military, I came back to Tennessee. And so we just put all the offers in the box. So when Brother Shane came on, the same thing. We just put in the box. So when my mom and daddy came in, if they gave offerings, anybody gave offerings, instead of me putting it, getting it, and then, in the offering plate or whatever, and then taking and sticking it in my pocket, we just put it in the box. Because I was determined I was going to do this community. I would do this community. Even in apostolic church, I was, starting the thought of it entering my mind. So when I met Brother Stair, he didn't, he was a great help as far as the dynamic of starting a community or helping to get in the community, giving me understanding. And Pastor Roberts and them, but they're not the ones who actually started this community. It was me, if you understand what I mean. And Brother Shane and my wife and a few other people. So that's how we were able to get this community because after I was working on getting out of debt, we saved money and we was able to purchase the land.
So now it's interesting, and I don't know if this has always been like this with the history of Straitway and with yourself. I mean, one thing I've noticed being a part of this assembly is you don't pass out, an offering plate or anything like that. But obviously, you need money to function. But that's always been a part of the Straitway and you leading that you didn't, because you had a box. Was that just people? Is that just the community living, or did you do that and you eventually stop? I guess I'm just trying to figure out.
Well, when we had a box that Sister Carol and I would put the money because we didn't have a safe. You understand what I mean? So when we, I come out of Christianity and I saw, because in the apostolic church, it was a poor church. You know what I mean? A lot of poor people in the church. And I saw the pressure. I put it like a pressure of offering, giving. It didn't pressure me at all because I was giving anyway. You know what I mean? And I wanted to remove that dynamic. You know what I mean? If anybody's going to give, they're going to give according to their heart. You follow me? I know what the law says. I know what it says. And people out here have been so churched in Christianity. They know the doctrine of tithes and offerings better than I do. It's really something I really truly ain't never really looked into. You can go throughout my archives and you can probably count on one hand how many times I've talked about giving tithes and offerings, all this other stuff. We have never, even in this place, right, we have never, ever passed around an offering plate to take up any offerings. So the way money is contributed, like during the feast here, you probably seen the people would just walk up to me and say, "Pastor, bless you," and give me the money. And of course, and this is the dynamic of how you get things done. You can't do things the way the world does. You have to do it the way Yah does. Jesus said, "With food and raiment be content." So when people give offers, they see the work that's going on. They want to give because they see what's going on. They see it that I'm not living on a high hog. You understand what I mean? I don't have this great, big, gigantic mansion and stuff. Matter of fact, I lived in very deplorable conditions for the first 9 years. I lived on this community with no running water and my family for 9 years.
I believe you guys even used to take a bath in the creek there.
Yeah, take a bath in the creek right in the backyard right there. Yeah.
So, Pastor, so you basically start learning how to do community. How did you start learning how to build? Because you're not a pastor that just raised me. You actually with your bare hands have laid the foundation. How did you learn it? Where did you learn how to do that? And I noticed that even all the people that's here all participate in building anything that's here on the land.
Well, I knew we wasn't going to have the resources, the funds to be able to pay professionals to do all this stuff. So everything that I tell people to do, or I at least give the information to them and instruct them to do, I've already done it myself. So I would buy books and I would study them, of course, foundation books. So I would be out and I would see some people either working on the foundation, digging a footer. I would pull up and I would call home and tell Sister Carol, I'm not going to be at home this evening, or I wouldn't be home this morning. I'm going to work with these people right here. I would pull up to them if they were framing a house or laying block or doing a foundation work or anything, something like that, I would say, hey, can I work with y'all? They said, we're not hiring. I said, I want to work for free. I'm not even thinking about trying to work for hire. I don't want to get paid. I just want the experience. And so they look at each other. Sure, they never heard nobody like that. So I would be out there 8 hours with them.
Not even getting paid.
Not even getting paid. Learning, watching them. I would mix mud, carry blocks. They would never let me lay a block, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I watched it. But I learned by practical application of doing. But before that, I actually submitted myself to the people out here who knew what they were doing. So it's one thing to have the books there, but there's another dynamic when you actually start doing it.
That's part of the Kansas City Saints. What y'all doing over there? Looking at history?
Yes, sir. All the colorful houses.
Oh, y'all see that we had some psychedelic colors, didn't you?
Yes. Here's Tomoko.
Looking at history, huh?
Yes, sir.
Come a long way, huh?
Yes,
We
It's
had
encouraging.
several horses. They just wouldn't take care of
Our
us.
city folks went out and just did it.
Yeah, just like y'all. We started just like y'all.
Yes, sir.
So when you see stuff like that, it should inspire.
It does.
Let you know you can do it. And y'all got more of this with y'all than what we had that was with
Yes,
us.
sir. Yes, sir.
That's him preaching in the old tabernacle. That's when we first got the greenhouse.
Oh, wow. This is the same one.
Oh, y'all seeing the real history, ain't you? Y'all seeing the beginning history, ain't you?
Yeah.
Watching it all
Nothing on
come
the
together.
land. It was just
Just land, huh?
yes, sir.
But it looks bigger now since there's a lot of all the buildings. Are
This
up
here is this building you're standing in right now. It used to be our fellowship hall.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
And that's him, Pastor
And
Bill.
that's me on the roof, isn't it?
Hallelujah.
That's him baptizing and running a bulldozer.
Backhoe.
Backhoe, sorry.
That's the backhoe where I'm actually doing the work for the dining hall, the dirt work.
Yep, there's now they're working on the dining hall.
All of this is.
You see it? It can be done, can't it?
Yes, sir.
Taking folks like us straight out of the city.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We had a choir, and that's the old tabernacle before they added the extension. Brother Rich and Tomoko's wedding, first wedding we had on the land.
Hallelujah.
There's our son. This is the fellowship hall, and we used to go out and play games. And
Which was here.
Yes.
this building where you are right now.
That boombox, though.
It's been a little while.
I mean, that's Chuck. You see how small he is right there.
Yeah.
He's 28 years old now.
Man.
This is what this building that you're standing in.
That's-
You
see,
saw
this-
that? That was our fellowship hall. We had games and things for the saints.
Oh, this
This
building.
was the
Mhm.
greenhouse.
Wow.
The only reason why
This
we
is-
turned it into a home is because when people would come to visit, a lot of people would stay at our house.
Uh-huh.
And most people, when they come, they would want to come and see us.
Mhm.
And of course, we was fine. We had the composting toilet in there and everybody's bathroom because a lot of people coming straight from the city.
Yes, sir.
They're like, oh man, I don't know about this. So I tell them go to the shower house. So all the saints will say, Pastor, you really need to, we don't need no fellowship hall right now. We can use the dining hall. So turn this into a home. So that, and plus you'll be able to watch the front gate. So turn it to a home because we was perfectly content. Wasn't you perfectly content in your trailer with no running water?
Perfectly content.
And so it took a while for me to convert it into a home because, I'd had to, jack the concrete up and everything and stuff and remodel the whole thing. And of course, me and Elder Doug will be the ones that have to do it. You know what I mean? It's a lot of work when you're remodeling. So anyway, we ended up doing it. And turned it into a home. And so now we're here. Most people think, when you get these people that come here, and most people come, it depends on what spirit. Only a very few come with an evil eye. And what they'll do is they'll see this building, and they don't realize we got two homes at the top of the hill as well.
True.
Two homes that you would normally see out in the world.
Yes, sir.
And so if they have an even idea, go, well, he's living in a house. Well, I built it. You could live in a house too if you built it. You understand what I mean? And they don't comprehend or understand because they're too lazy to do it themselves.
Yes, sir.
But they're full of criticism. But if they will follow what I teach, then they could be free too. But it's going to take hard work. Now you think about it. All right, I'm 50 years old. Most 50 years old, especially our people, they don't own their land.
True.
They don't own their homes.
True.
And so we have to break this trend. And the only way to break this trend is to do things y'all's way. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And we pretty much don't have too many people out there as an example to show us what y'all's way is.
Yeah, no.
And so when we see it, it can be done. But, the thing has to be changed is this mind right here. You change your mind. You're willing to make sacrifice. You're going to go through a lot of pain early, but the reward is coming later.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There's always a sacrifice.
Yes, sir.
So y'all can do it. Anyway, I'll let y'all get on back to y'all history lesson or the history of Straitway.
This is sisters. We washed in the creek for a whole year.
Wow.
Y'all seeing that? Look at that. Look at that.
All of us. Jeans, everything.
That's how our sister used to wash our
We used
clothes.
to wash our clothes in the creek.
Oh, okay.
The
Yes,
Yeah.
I
The,
remember
the rub boards and the tubs, isn't it?
Yes.
And we use that too. We had ringer washers and everything else. Look. There's the one picture right there of me preaching outside.
We used to have service on Sabbath outside by the creek.
It's giving me an even new
Perspective.
appreciation
Appreciation.
for us even coming here. It's like
Well, we're about
we
to go back
we
to
didn't
all of
help
this.
with any of that, and it's
We're about
like,
to go back to the washing in the tubs and the rub boards and things on our hands, cooking outside like they used to.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what happens though? It makes you more appreciative when you do have the modern day conveniences, and you'll be more mindful, and you won't tear up stuff.
right.
You know what I mean? You'll start thinking a little bit.
This is actually Sister Vicky and another sister. They were butchering a cow outside,
Sure.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Skin.
skinning it and working on it. Pastor wanted some of the sisters to be able to learn how to do it too, just in case the brothers are gone. And we still have to eat and feed the children. So Sister Vicky and another sister were actually, who already had the experience, were working on a cow.
That look fun.
And you see what genetically modified foods has done to people's minds?
Yes.
You can tell them all this stuff and they'll call you crazy and everything else. You understand what I mean? And they have no skills.
Man.
They've learned nothing except how to push a button.
There's Dad, Dowell, and Granny Ruth that have been
Serious?
with us from the beginning. And they're standing actually in front of their trailer that they're in now. And they're going to be moving soon. So.
Yeah, because we're going to tear that trailer down and I'm going to remodel the whole entire thing.
We used to have very colorful trailers. So.
We like colors.
That's it.
And those trailers, two of those trailers, I think I paid $200 a piece for those trailers.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
That was just
They were old trailers that you had to put your hands to.
Good out.
You understand what I mean?
Yes, sir.
We had to remodel, so we had no choice but to learn.
Yes, sir.
This is actually a picture looking at the garden. This is the trailer up there.
The
Where
double
you
wide.
See,
Mhm.
the double wide up there that's on the hill.
Sister
Sister
Barb.
Barb lives on one side.
Wow.
Wow, it's just like green.
That's
It's
it.
green. You can see how much work went in now. Because there's buildings and gardens.
It just shows you that there was nothing here.
Right.
See, look,
Wow.
let y'all people look and see out there. There was nothing here.
I already
This-
showed them those. But
This
that's-
is how the land looked when we first bought it.
That's where the house is now.
both these.
It's hard to believe, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
When you look at that, look. That's the whole land right there. It looks just like one big field, don't it? Just one big old gigantic field.
This is the trailer Pastor and I used to live in. He let me pick the colors. It's more of the trailer.
Maybe I'll do a slideshow one day.
Right,
Yes,
right.
sir.
This is
That'd be
the
good to see.
what we call the back 40, where y'all go to shoot through the. Here's another picture of the garden. This is as we progressed a little bit the front of the land.
The baby trees.
The baby
Mhm.
trees with the baby trees and baby bushes.
All right, of course, there's my mom right there. How old are you, Mom?
How old am I?
Mhm.
76.
76 years old. They're seeing all the old, younger pictures of you out here in the history.
Oh my goodness.
Hallelujah. All right. Bless y'all, Kansas. Shalom.
Bless you.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Pastor, let me ask you this. So now that you've been doing this for over 20, about 26 years, something like that.
26 years.
You've been doing it for 26 years, from your humble, deplorable conditions to now you're in the process of building a new tabernacle. I think it's 3 times bigger than the one that we're standing in right now, where you know, obviously people, you can see the pulpit behind you where you preach from now. I mean, when you see what Yah is taking you from, how does this make you feel? I mean, what does that do to you to see where you started? I mean, when I talked to Mother Carol, just seeing old pictures of you guys living in trailers and It used to be all different colors. I mean, you kind of just see the history and to where you're going now. What I guess, what's the future of Straitway? What do you see the future of Straitway going now, from where you are now, where he's going to be going in the future?
Let me digress for a second and say this. I am what I am today by the grace of Yah. I've literally done what the Bible said. Yah said that he will bless the labor of your hands, the work of your hands. And I've literally put that to the test. When I moved on this community, I didn't even know how to nail a 2x4 together because I was a soldier. You understand what I mean? And so living out here and being on this community, I actually have learned how to run heavy equipment, dozers, loader dozers, track holes, backhoes, you know, the whole 9 yards. I've learned that here. I've learned how to, matter of fact, I've laid all the foundations of every building out here, the blocks. I've laid the blocks, the masonry and stuff, and then I've taught other brothers how to do it. I framed the majority of the houses out here, you know, and the homes and the buildings. If you notice now, there's hardly any trailers on the land. Now it's mostly homes, and all of them are paid for, every single one of them. And nobody here has a mortgage. Nobody here has a car note. Nobody here has, matter of fact, any bills that live on this land whatsoever at all. They don't have any bills. They don't have any of that. Again, it's proven the Bible true. Jesus said, if a man forsakes all that he has, are you following me? If he forsake all, he not only he will receive houses, brothers, lands, children, wives, the whole 9 yards, but he will also inherit eternal life. I've applied what the gospel and what the Acts of the Apostles said and put it into action. So when you see Straitway, you're actually looking at the dynamic of what the book says. Digress again. Not only do I know how to build buildings, but I know how to build custom cabinets. You know what I mean? I know how to build furniture. I'm a working pastor, a literal working pastor. I mean, you all see it on videos. We started out with this. Now we have 9 communities. We have 9 communities scattered, you know, throughout the southeast here in of America. The vision of the whole entire thing is this: what the book says. What did everybody always talking about WWJD? What did Jesus do? Well, if you want to know what Jesus preached and taught, watch what the apostles did after the death, burial, and resurrection. After the death, burial, and resurrection, people sold everything. They took all the proceeds, put it into one pot, and their distribution was given to every man as he had needed. That's the way we live. That's the way we live. And so in these 9 communities that we have here now, out of all these 9 communities that we have here now, throughout all the world, you know, everybody that lives on those communities, none of them have any debt. So we're able to do more. We're able to travel more. We're able to do more. We're able to buy more because when the proceeds come in, we can put it into building materials to build more. We can put it into land to build more. You see me frame up homes in South Carolina. You see me help level trailers and stuff, even in Canada. You see me go out and build even in Georgia. You see me all over the place doing these things in Kentucky. You know, you see me do all this work. My whole entire life was finished the day I got filled with the Holy Spirit. I didn't have a life anymore. I'm totally dead to this world while I yet live. I live because of Christ in me. And so my whole life is all about Yah's kingdom. Jesus said to Peter, he said, if you love me, feed my sheep. Feeding is more than just preparing some food and giving it to them. It's providing. It's providing. And so the Most High knows how much I love him based on being obedient to his word. So I have loved him enough to feed his sheep. I loved him enough as a pastor to be able to provide for his sheep. Now, people just don't come here and sit down and drink coffee and we do scripture study all day long. These buildings didn't get built because that's what we did. We've been scrutinized pretty much ever since the beginning and probably always will. When we moved out here, neighbors was calling, you know, all the institutions on and said, we're doing this and doing that. It's part of the persecution. When they come out to inspect, only come to find out that everything that we build is overkill. Everything we build is greater. It's more than what they even expect. So I'm not so much concerned about that. I'm mostly concerned about being obedient to Yah, telling the truth. I can only hope that people would do their due diligence and be like the Bereans. The Bible says they were more noble than the people in Thessalonica because they went and searched the scriptures, not people's feelings and emotions. They didn't search what the so-called pastor had to say. They went to see what the book said. And once they found out what the book says, see, the condemnation comes then. And this is the condemnation because light has come into the world. And men love darkness rather than light because their deeds are evil. Make no mistake about it, Kabir. When people fight against the truth that I preach and teach, they only fight against it for one reason. They don't want to give up their life. They don't want to change. They do not want to be obedient to Jesus Christ.
I don't know what you call it, but I call it like just the time where you just start talking to people and everybody starts getting around the elders table, and you got young people just, all in the outskirts just listening. I mean, is that something that you just do, or is that just happens? I mean, I've seen it consistently all the time. You just, I got some footages of you just sharing your heart about the future and what you want to see in Israel and everything. Is that something that's just orchestrated, or does it just happens natural in the time of just fellowship?
It just happens naturally. You understand, my brother, people are really truly hungry for the real, true Yah of Israel. They want him. And that hunger is there because of his word. It's because they love him. They want more and more and more of him. I have nothing to say. You see my speech. It's mostly all about him. It's all about him. Straitway is a ministry, and you saw it, especially more than anything this time.
Yes.
Everything that they say that is done away with and it can't happen, you saw blind eyes open here, literally, this past feast. You saw people healed when they say that there's no healing. You literally saw them healed, and they testified of it. You saw myself and other Israelites, men and women, cast out devils when they say it can't be done. You saw this with your own eyes. You've seen people get filled with the baptism of the Holy Spirit with the evidence of speaking with tongues as the Spirit give the utterance, and religion said it's not so. Everything that they say is not. You see it still happening because Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. The Creator, the Father. I'm Yahweh, your Elohim, and I change not. Therefore, you sons of Jacob are not consumed. Focus and attention is always on him. You saw miracles, signs, and wonders. Not only that, you see a holiness of lifestyle. You don't see people running around here practicing sin. This is the hallmark of the ministry, is being obedient. Obey, obey, obey. Obey Jesus, obey Yah, do what they say, do exactly what he says. Do what he says, do what the word says, and your life will totally change.
And what's impressive about this ministry, Pastor, I can honestly say now, not that I live on the community, but we've talked many hours on the phone. I've been to your, this is my 5th trip here. I've slept in your home, slept in the yard, with the feast. I've seen the good times. I've seen just beautiful times. I even seen, this last feast, we had a little hiccup. I've even seen that. And the part that impresses me the most is that at the end of the day, you truly live that book out. You are not a respecter of person, just like Yah is. At the end of the day, you use that. You really live by the law of the Torah. I mean, you follow it to a T.
Well, you sit. You had an opportunity to sit in an elders meeting.
Yes. Very.
And you saw another dynamic of me that the world would never see. You follow me? You can, for your own self, with your own eyes, can say I'm not a respecter of persons.
You are not a respecter.
I don't take bribes from no one. You see me get on pastors and elders, heads of communities, and really rip them.
Never seen anything like that.
And most people think that they think that I get on women. Even our sisters would tell you for themselves, there's no way we could stand up under that type of correction and rebuke and reprove, and we couldn't handle it. We simply can't handle it. So again, I would say my life is better And the testimony of the ministry is better told by others rather than myself. Let me also end on this right here. I'm here, but I can't do this by myself. Sister Carol's been there all the way through. Brothers, faithful. One heart, one mind. Love the Father. With me through thick and thin. If I didn't have them, there wouldn't be any Straitway. And I love them. That's it.
Thank you, Pastor.